Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Put my little earbuds in. I'm coming in here in celebration of the final episode of our month of freedom by pulling out some of my favorite earrings that I never wear because I can only wear them just about long enough as one of these daily, or we're not doing the daily tunings, one of these peace talks lasts because they're not as heavy as they look, but they eventually bother my ears and they get annoying. But I was getting myself ready to come on here, and I I have, living out of a suitcase for the last year and a half, so I only have a few few things in my wardrobe, like, that are decent to wear, so I'm recycling a lot, so I have to, figure out how to be creative with things, so I have these pieces of jewelry that I brought that I absolutely love, and I never wear these earrings because they are so ridiculous. So I'm bringing some ridiculousness in, and and as I was kind of marinating on the message all day today, this Hineni spirit, which I'm going to talk about, I was like, these are totally Hineni spirit kind of earrings. So I'm bringing in my Hineni spirit, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But first, I want to show you. I've got some. These are my raffle tickets in the mayonnaise jar. That's how I do things. But these are the raffle tickets that I have that I talked about on the last peace talks. And oh boy, y'all, I've got stuff to share. So on the last peace talks, I opened up just a little creative idea to raise money, raise donations for investing in Dragonfly Studios. The dragonfly is the symbol for light, the light of the world. And that is what we are. We are each a light in the world, and we're being called through our Hineni spirit to be even brighter and lighter in this world. And the Hineni spirit, now as I have a new word, has been calling me to expand the capabilities of what I can do here on this on Peace Talks, and taking it even wider into a wider audience with collaboration with Unified TV and Roku. And as I mentioned, the equipment that I have is not at all feasible really to grow in. So I need to expand that. And so I have a PayPal campaign set up, and I've gotten feedback that people are like, I hate PayPal. I won't do anything with PayPal. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. So I decided that I would take donations however you want to bring them. I have Venmo set up. I have PayPal. You could just go right to my website. So I put a link in the chat just to the generic donate page, and you can choose how you want to donate. And when you do, I'm running a campaign to give away a free session. At first, I called it a reading, but maybe you don't want a reading. Maybe you just want to sit and have a private session with me. There's a lot of different, I'm multifaceted in the different modalities that I have over the years. I've picked up many certifications over the years of, between hypnotherapy and energy healing, creative life coaching, art therapy, ministry. So there's a lot of things that tie into the sessions that I do. So instead of just having it be specific to a reading, I think it's a fun way to do things. I'm going to let whoever wins choose how the session goes, but it's $20 to get a little a little paper strip in the mayonnaise jar, and when I have at least 10, I will actually I will pull one and announce the winner. So if you'd like to donate to a bigger cause and have a chance to win, no matter who puts in $20, I will send you an emailed message that is direct for you, from my spirit, and what it's calling forth. So it's fun stuff. We're working together to build the light. But today I'm super stoked, and it's weird because I was thinking about all day today. I was just kind of tuning into what this message is, and it's been a couple of days where it's been really, really interesting. And I'd like to give you a little bit of a, insight on my own personal journey in this, so we can have some practical application of some of the higher level spiritual laws and spiritual rules, not rules, but spiritual laws that we talk about here on Peace Talks, because we are really embracing, we are walking into a freedom to be fully embodied in the spiritual way of living over the conventional way, that from the physical world, trying to find peace and find happiness in that inverted matrix that we have been taught and that we've been living in. And our work, for many of us, have since our spiritual awakenings have taken us into an understanding that it doesn't work that way. That's the inverted way of living. So we are now moving into a year, or well, not into a year, but we are now moving into an operating system of the pole shift, where we nurture the spiritual laws of nature, of creation, knowing that they filter down into the physical realms of reality. And yet we are the pioneers of that. Of course, we've had people that have gone before us, and we've had ascended masters that have taught the ways and taught the mysteries. And we are in a massive time of awakening for our entire planet to make this pole shift. So for those of us here, we are very much called, and I've been talking about this for a year, doing the daily tune-ins and now into Peace Talks. We've been talking a lot about the pioneers who are just choosing to live this way in this modern world. And there comes with that a lot of challenges and a lot of freedom. So a month ago on September 25th, excuse me, I'm gonna take a sip of my water. Hi, everybody. Jessica. Hi, Mom. Mary Cole's my mom, everybody. So welcome my mom on here. And Kat, thank you. Thank you for all of you for being here. Welcome. I don't want to breeze through that. I really appreciate you all being here too. It's nice to know that there's other people on here. And if you're not on here live and you're watching the recording eventually, I welcome you as well, because your consciousness is helping to co-create this. So back in September 25th, we entered into the Shemitah. It's a Shemitah year that is even bigger and even more exponentially big with the Yovel year. And I explained that on the very first Peace Talks. But just to give the overview, I want to kind of give an overview of what we've done this month, because this topic of October, really majority of this time has landed in October, has been the topic of freedom and the consciousness of freedom and what all that takes. And we've been really working on that. If we've been on the healing journey and we've been in the awakening process, we have been really working towards freedom to be fully ourselves, to step into our divine pathway, to step into our divinely created potential. We talked about being potential, divine potential that is being made manifest moment to moment to moment. The moment, right now, I am different from who I am right now. And the whole point of spiritual awakening and the whole point of evolution is to be a higher version of ourselves moment to moment to moment. And we utilize our experiences in the world and our experiences in consciousness to know that each moment and everything that is happening in our world is happening for us to evolve to a higher manifested being, individual, soul. And so I had work to do, apparently, on Friday. The jackhammering that I've been talking about for weeks, it's not going away. I mean, it's not going away. This is a part of my world now since while I'm still in Saranda. And it started back up the other night around 6:30. I was making dinner, 6:30, and at around 8:30 it was still going on. And in those 2 hours, I felt rage that I didn't even know existed within me. I was not in peace. I was in rage, and I was surprised by it because, quite honestly, at one point I sat down and I was like, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose it. And the interesting part was I was really kind of breaking it down even in that moment. And I was like, what am I raging about? And yes, it was a disruption to my own peace, but I couldn't understand. What I was so enraged by is, how is it not inherently just respected that at a certain time you stop? How is there no ordinance that kind of disruption has to stop at a certain time? At 8:30, babies are going to sleep, families are having dinner, people are winding down, and there is no way to wind down when this jackhammering is going on, and it just reverbs all around this whole end of town. And it's going on all through town because now that season's over, construction and growth is happening, and they do it all throughout the day and all now through the night. So as I was sitting in rage, what I didn't know existed in me was the creative process of, how do I destroy that machine down there? Now the jackhammer is not like like a handheld thing. It's a whole like big machine. The jackhammer part is 2 stories high. So they're jackhammering into earth, and this entire earth here is pretty much rock. So it is so loud, it is so big. And I was like, okay, I'm going to dress in black and I'm going to go down there at night. I'm going to take these. I had a vision of like loppers, which I have no access to. Like, the loppers, you lop off trees and stuff. I was like, I'm going to take loppers and I'm going to go find some kind of wire or hose or something, which I have no clue how to, like, what they do. But I'm just going to cut it so that they at least it gives us some time to until they have to fix it. But then I'm like, okay, that's not in the good of all, because it does, so I'm going through the whole process of, how do I deconstruct the ability for them to disrupt the peace of not only me, but all of my neighbors, their neighbors, their locals, their families. So anyway, so I'm sitting in this rage, and I finally decide at 8:30 I have to get out, because I'm probably not going to go and lop a hose. And I took the dogs for a walk. When I came back, it was done, and I just sat, and I sat in my space of peace, and kind of brought myself back into a place of peace. And all day Saturday, it went on. All day Sunday, it's going on. But I'm finding something in that purge of all of that rage, which was somewhere so deep in me. I realized that obviously that thing is a trigger to triggering all of these densities that I don't even know exist in me. We are being like squeezed, and in this month of freedom, we are being squeezed about with all different ways to get all of this vinyl stuff out. And although it was quite the intensity, it's still, on Saturday, I felt a peace all throughout the day that I hadn't yet with this jackhammering. All day today, yes, I would love for it to stop. But I was actually sitting here earlier, and the jackhammering is going on, but I was doing my process. I was journaling, and I was getting into my mode of introspection. And all of a sudden I heard so clearly. I heard it. And it was a message just saying, deconstruction is noisy. They're deconstructing the earth. And I looked over there earlier, and there were people down there like taking pictures, and I'm like, why are they taking pictures? Who cares? But what I heard then is, deconstruction is noisy. It gets your attention. Everyone wants the opulence of after something is built. They want the building, they want the creation, but they don't really want to sit through the deconstruction to see what is underneath, what lies underneath. And what this deconstruction of this property down there is showing me and teaching me in this message that I got is that we have been deconstructed to find the freedom to be able to create and to build something of opulence. This year of the Jubilee year, the Shemitah year, is the 7-year cycle. And the Yovel year is the 7th cycle of 7 years, the 49th year. I'm not going to go all into it because you can look at episode 1 and get the whole thing. But this is such a special, special year. And in order for us to be able to have the opportunity to build heaven on earth, we have had to deconstruct ourselves and go into the noise of our inner world, to sit with all of the triggers of everything, the people, the jobs, the literal noise that it has disrupted all of, and not disrupted, but has also revealed all that lies underneath of the foundation of who we are and who we have been. So it has given us the opportunity to deconstruct all the way down. And I will tell you, there have been times in this past year where I'm like, I can't go any lower. I can't take anymore. And it does feel like that sometimes, but sometimes we have to get all the way underneath everything that we have built so that we can rebuild. And this is the year that we're rebuilding. This is the year that we are now changing, that we are taking all of this change and expansion in consciousness, and we see it projected into our reality. This month of October that we've been through, we started out the first week of illumination, illuminating all that is still concealed, that needs to be revealed. And this jackhammering has done it for me. This, Bud leaving and going from here, going back to the States. The illumination for us came the first week of this month, and it's time for the next phase. You're being called back to the States. And I'm still sitting with that. And I have a little piece to share with you on that, because I don't necessarily, like, I wasn't ready to go back. And yet when we're called, we kind of have to answer. And it comes into the Hineni spirit that I'm gonna define. And so we were illuminated. There's been a lot of illumination. If you can think of who you were when we first started this journey of peace talks, I will tell you, I am completely different from who I was 4 weeks ago. Completely different, completely expanded. I don't know, like, it's so hard to explain. It's so hard to put into words, but I know you all feel it too. And then we went into the doorway and stepping through, and we had the 1010 portal of all of that energy and the solar flares that were coming in, the illuminations, and stepping through to the I mean, literally the physical and the energetic reality of heaven on earth. And that created a lot of chaos. We're still in a lot of the chaos still. I know Bud and I are still in the chaos, and the world is in chaos. So this time of freedom has really been like an exponential, or kind of an overview of what spiritual awakening is. It's a constant form of deconstruction and illumination, and stepping through to a higher perspective, and sitting through the discomfort of all of that. So now we can walk into the next phase, which is going to be what our November is, what this next month is. And if you remember, I did a reading about it's a tarot tune-in about the different themes for the entire month, or the entire year. And the month of November is about the Earth Star chakra, and I'm going to go into that. Like, that's going to be our theme. And what does that really mean? What do we really think freedom meant? We kind of went on a journey through freedom that was very different than I thought it was going to be, than I originally thought. So I don't know yet where we're going to go in the Earth Star chakra, but what I know at this point, this is when we start sowing the seeds. In November is when we start sowing the seeds, planting the seeds. And a seed is a physical thing, right? We start with an intention of building a garden, and then we get the seeds and we plant those seeds. So we're planting seeds now, starting in November, that by next November are going to be the creation of a brand new garden, our own heaven on earth. So this is going to be an exciting month at the same time, it's still going to be it's going to be nurtured. We have to nurture it. We've got to water the garden. We've got to make sure it's got enough sunlight, but not too much sunlight. So there's still a lot of nurturing that happens. So it's going to be interesting moving into November, and we have a lot of energy that's going to be coming in, which I'll talk about on Tuesday. So this brings me into last night. I was feeling a little bit low, and I was talking to Bud, and he's just like, I've talked about it. He's just hitting, roadblock after roadblock in San Diego, and with finding a car. And he was going to already on Saturday to go up. He got money out of the bank to go buy a car. And all of a sudden, like, it fell through. And he was just like, I don't know. I have no idea, babe. He's like, I don't know what to do. And I said, I don't either. And he had to move to a new place, and he's in, Airbnbs because he can't find a place. And, and I'm kind of happy with that. And I was telling him last night, I was like, honey, I'm kind of happy you haven't found a place, because I don't know yet. I don't know yet that is where we are supposed to be. We are supposed to be back in the States, but I feel like committing or going back into a conventional life is not it's a hard no for me. And we're following this course of action that feels very conventional. You get the car, you get the place to live, and that is what we were called out of a year and a half ago, when we were called to sell off everything, to be more mobile. And it just has been frustrating for us, because I'm like, honey, I can't commit. I can't do that. And for him, who's more logic oriented, and who is a little, is understanding my way of life, but it just frustrates him. And so for me to say, I can't quite commit to a place. I don't want to sign a lease. I don't want to do all of that, but trying to figure out a place to put a roof over our head at the same time, to not, sign a lease is hard. So he's like, I don't know what to do here. And so last night I was like, I don't know either. And it wasn't like, argumentative energy. It was more like understanding how this journey works. How do we live unconventionally? How do we live in that pole shifted world of just trusting this process? And while I was talking to Bud, my dad was calling. So I texted him and said, Dad, I'm on the phone. I'll call you in a minute. So eventually I was exhausted after talking to Bud, because it was just like, it's hard to get off a phone call and not have an answer. And the answer was at the end, honey, please, like, we just have to sit with this. We have to surrender this. Are you okay surrendering this for tonight? And he said, yes, because neither of us had an answer. Neither of us had a direction. And I said, can you trust that we will get this direction? And he said, yes. And I said, me too. And I said, I love you. And I was like, somehow this works out. So I called my dad and telling him all, everything that's going on. And I was like, and I've had this dream for so long to live in an RV, to travel through, and back in the day in 2012, when I wrote my book Soul Mama, and I was doing Soul Mama circles, I had this vision of taking the RV and going to places and meeting up with communities and people to do Soul Mama circles in this RV. And quite frankly, at that time, that was the reason I gave. But deep down, if I were to now look back, but at the time, I wouldn't allow myself to deconstruct that idea. But really, what I was looking to do was escape the marriage that I was in that was not healthy. And so I wanted a reason to go away, to travel, and say, well, it's work. I got to go. I got to go on the road. But now it felt very different. So I was talking to my dad, and I was laughing, like, Dad, I think this whole RV thing makes a lot of sense now. Like, what if we just, like, I should just get an RV, like, Bud and I should just get an RV and just live in that while we're, and then when we get the hankering to go somewhere, we go somewhere. And when I go somewhere, I reach out to that area and be like, does anybody live here that wants to get around as a campfire and talk about peace, talk about the deeper questions of life? I love that idea. My dad's like, well, that makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't you do that? And I was like, I don't know. So I got the call, and I called Bud, and I said, honey, what if we do this whole RV thing we've been talking about? Like, I think it's time. And at the end of the conversation, we were both like, this makes perfect sense because it so ties into this whole idea of peace talks, of sitting around in community. I'm thinking in the conventional way, what does it mean to have community? And it's, oh, you live in a town and you have a house and you invite people in community, and yes, there's still this part of me deep down that wants that eventually, but the resistance that I realized that I was having, oh man, I forgot to put my thing on do not disturb, and Bud's waking up and now he's gonna light me up. Hold on. What I'm realizing now is that community is coming in different stages for us. And building community is me starting here with you all and then going back to the States and finding, where are some of you? We're going to come to you, and we're going to talk about peace. We're going to commune in person. We'll have a peace talks around a campfire. And we start building community that way. We bring our light together. And it just started making sense. So this morning I woke up and I slept on it, and I got up and I thought, I like this. This feels like a hard yes, to the point with now I'm ready to go back. Now I understand what is being called forth. And it was being triggered all those years ago, which I thought was like, it's just adventure. It's just me going on the road, but it was a higher purpose. Now the purpose is starting to formulate. And part of my spiritual studies, so just bear with me. I'm getting to the point here, y'all, but I want to piece this together, because this is the practical way in which these illuminations, these insights come in when we are connected to our supernal channel and in the place of peace. This is how spirit connects everything. I'm now coming full circle on things that were happening in 2012. Ideas that were generated. So now I'm ready for this next phase. I'm ready to go back. I don't know how we buy an RV. I don't know. Years ago I had somebody who said, I have an RV, I'll give it to you, it needs some work. But what he meant by it needs some work is it needed like a lot of work, more than I could even put in, and I even knew where to begin with it. But I do know that if somebody sees this and says, I have an RV, I'll give you a good deal, or I'll donate this for your cause. I don't know. Or maybe something happens and the storehouse opens. But for now, the idea of Gus. God, universe, spirit is sending this down the supernal channel and says, it's time, sweet soul. It's time. It's time for this idea to come into fruition. Now you get it. I've got purpose in this whole idea I gave you to be in an RV and traveling and being with your kids and taking them with you if they want to go. And if not, they have a good life. So it's all making sense now. So this morning when I was sitting with all of this, one of the parts of my spiritual studies is in getting the doctorate in spiritual studies is to observe other influences, other ministers in all different aspects. Now, the ministry that I'm doing and I'm bringing forth is not in any organized religion. However, part of the studies is to choose different ministers in different religions, just to see like what are the similarities. What's the truth in a minister of Christianity? What's the truth in a minister of Judaism, or a rabbi? What is the truth of Buddhists? And how does it all come together? How does it? And I love it. So I chose this what's her name? Hold on, Sadie Robertson Huff. She is the daughter of the Duck Dynasty guy, and she is now a minister. And because she was, she's a millennial, she's Christian, I was curious about how is she bringing a new evolution of ministry to Christianity, which also is coming into a very big step in evolutionary step. There's a lot about Christianity that people are questioning, that they're waking up to, and yet it's got such a foundation. There's some deconstruction going on, but it's not going to go away. It still feeds many people spiritually. So how is the new generation of ministry starting to build that faith and that trust back up? And I really liked her, but I was watching one of her sermons today. It's one of the newest ones. I would recommend it because it was pretty good. But she was sharing a story, and it was basically her story of, who she was before Duck Dynasty took off and all of the challenges that came. She was completely deconstructed in that phase of becoming, the daughter of the Duck Dynasty guy. And she got lost for a while, and it was her faith that just kept keeping her, in some form of purpose. And at one point, someone said to her, this is over years, someone said to her about, you have to bring in your Hineni spirit. And she said, I didn't know what that was, and neither did I. And so I went to DuckDuckGo, and I was like, what is a Hineni spirit? And when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, I have been living the Hineni spirit. You all have been living the Hineni spirit. And it's basically when you are called, Hineni means in Hebrew, it means I am here. When you get the call from the supernal channel of Gus, God, universe, spirit calling you to something, and you say, I am here. And like in the literal terms of Hebrew, it means behold. And I was like, ooh, I like that. So when I get a call now, I'm going to be like, behold, Gus, here I am. But the Hineni spirit is what I answered a year and a half ago when I got that call to sell everything and take your kids traveling, and I didn't but what I didn't know, what I didn't want to hear in that call was they weren't supposed to be with me in this phase, but I couldn't hear it because I didn't want to hear it. And how often do we mute the line when we don't want to hear something? But what I have come to understand so gratefully in this journey, because it's been the hardest year and a half of my life, because it has made me surrender. It has built a courage and a strength in me that I never knew I had. And when the Hineni spirit calls, or when it answers the call, it's usually answering the call. Let me get the words. It's a readiness to serve. When we get a call to awaken, and it illuminates something, and we're like, oh, I don't really want to see that. That is when our Hineni spirit rises up and says, I'm here to serve. I'm afraid. I'm in fear, but I'm here to serve. And she shared this beautiful story. It's from the Bible, but it's from Luke 5. And it's about Simon is fishing. Simon Peter. I don't know enough about the Bible to know why it's Simon Peter, but Peter is the disciple, and it's when he's called to be to when Jesus starts finding his disciples. And Peter's fishing all night with his buddies, and they're not catching anything. So they come ashore, and Jesus shows up and is like, I'm going to teach. I want to teach. So Jesus gets in Peter's boat and goes out just a little bit, and he shares his light. He just shares what he knows. He shares his consciousness, and with those on shore and in the boats. And when he's complete, he says, all right, Peter, go cast your nets. And Peter says, I can't. I mean, we've been out all night and there's no fish. So Jesus says, cast your nets on the other side. So Peter casts a net on the other side and pulls up a huge abundance of fish. And all the fishermen go out and cast their nets, and they all come back just completely laden down with treasure, with fish. So much so that the boats start to sink. And they go in and they feed. They just feed off of they have a feast on this fish and the abundance of the light that Jesus brought. And it's not because Jesus is a miracle worker, but we all are. but they answered the call to cast their nets one more time when it seems like I just keep failing. And if you only knew how many times since 2012, when I launched my book, to now, when I'm trying to do this work and trying to do this work, and feeling like I'm failing and having to go back to a corporate job, and then getting to the point now where I can't do that because the call is so loud in me that I just keep hearing, cast another net, launch this thing called daily tune-ins, until I was so depleted that I had to stop because I was called to stop. And that Hineni spirit said, this doesn't make any sense, but I'm ready to serve. And if I need to stop and be quiet, okay. But it scares me because it was like the only sustenance that I had to keep myself alive, really. And yet I had to stop. And then a call came. There's this peace talks thing I need you to do. And my Hineni spirit said, we've done this before. It's just with a new name. But the Hineni spirit wouldn't let me say no. And I cast the net out on this first month. And what is happening is the light that is coming into my supernal channel has changed me. In this month, I have been given the call to go back to my spiritual studies, to leave this world and go back to the world that I didn't want to go back to, but I couldn't say no because the Hineni spirit said, you follow, you're in readiness to serve. You're being called back to the states where I was like, my mind is like, we don't want to do that. And the Hineni spirit says, you're still going to be mobile. I'm going to show you the way. And I don't know what that way is, but I didn't know this way. I didn't know we were going to be in Ukraine for 5 months. I didn't know I was going to be in Saranda, Albania for 8-9 months almost. That I've just said yes to this Hineni spirit, this part of me that just is saying, be ready to serve, cast out your net. So what we have learned in October, is in consciousness is the freedom comes when we just answer the call. We've been talking about that. These calls don't make sense. The messages we get, quit the job, go move here, sell off everything, end that relationship. Sometimes your mind says, what? Or what? We don't do that. We can't do that. But the spirit within now, when we live from that pole shift, we live from that, the spiritual side, the true north, it then filters down and takes care of this physical reality that, remember, is only 1% of our experience as a multi-dimensional being. It's just 1%. The 99% is the Hineni spirit. It's the supernal channel. It's the part of us that gets the call and we say, yes, I'm ready to serve. Behold, here I am. Here I am. We talk about the I am presence. We have been liberated. We have been liberated in October. I mean, it's been a journey to get here. But the whole entire message, the theme of October, as we finish out this lesson of freedom, is that we are free to rebuild. We have been deconstructed. We have deconstructed the old inverted matrix and all of its programming within us. And anything that boils up, that rage that came up in me on Friday, it was gone within 30 seconds of leaving with the dogs to go for a walk. And I walked away and I got into another energy. I could still hear the jackhammering, but I was with the dogs. I was breathing air. I was walking. I was under the stars. That Hineni spirit said, get out in nature. And I said, behold, dogs, it's time to go for a walk. Instead of going and destroying someone's property, let's go for a walk. And when I came back, it was done. And it was such a lesson. And yesterday I woke up and there it was again. There was the jackhammering, the deconstruction, but it didn't grab me. It didn't get me. And it didn't get me today. I'll be happy when it's done, but it hasn't gotten me. It hasn't grabbed on. because those old programs, the old subconscious, everything that was underneath the surface has been liberated from our centers. And we have been helped by these beautiful celestial beings, by our galactic beings, by beings that are unseen. They reside in the 99% of our world that we cannot see, but we can feel. We have been guided. Every single awakening that we've had over and over and over again has taken us to a higher level. And if you are here or you're on this recording co-creating this message, it's because it is time for you to understand that that world cannot pull us under anymore. We are now liberated. We are free. We are free from that inverted matrix. And from here on out, there is no convention. There is only unconventional living. And the unconventional living is the most natural, the most inherent living, because we are connected fully now. Remember, our 12 power sources are online. We've got 2 more to go, but that's just easy. We've got this down now. And so no matter what happens out in this world, whether it's jackhammering, whether it's, inflation, whether it's gas prices, whether it's wars, it cannot affect us. We are liberated from that lower realm of existence. It no longer has us. And we have to trust that so deeply that we answer the call. So when it is that we get the call to rise up out of anything left there, we just say, behold, here I am. And you go with the call, you answer it. That is the liberation at hand. That is what we have gotten. We have done the work to get to. We are now liberated, y'all. We are completely now in the elevation stage, in the accelerated, what's the word? We're in the accelerated elevator. That's what I keep seeing, is like an elevator going up. We are in the express elevator to heaven on earth now. So what we then get to sow, and however that looks, I have no idea yet. I don't even know what to expect. I don't even know on Tuesday what I'm going to talk about on Peace Talks, because I don't do anything with these messages until I get the call to say, sweet soul, it's time to sit down. Here's what you're going to talk about. And I sit on that couch and I get this trusty little journal, and I trust if I'm taken somewhere to watch something because it spurs a new learning in me. It awakens something new. This Hineni spirit, I had no idea that word existed. I didn't know what that idea was, but I was taken to it at the prime time. And when I learned it, when I saw it, I was like, I get that. I get that. And I've been doing it, and you all have been doing it, because you're here and you're working through these energies. You've already deconstructed. You've done the noisy part. Now it's time that we get to the peaceful part, the exciting part, the creation part. And we have to trust that we are free to do that. We are free to cast our nets. So the only thing we have to remember, moving in now to the next month of this creation phase of the Jubilee year, is we need 2 things. We need 3 things. First, we need a boat. Remember, Peter had a boat. We need a vessel. We are the vessel. We are the boat. We are the channel. We need nets. What is the net? How do you cast your net of light? They cast their net to pull in the abundance, their heaven on earth, in the form of fish. I cast my net in these things called peace talks. I cast my net into answering the call that whatever creative idea spirit gives to me, I say, okay, I don't get it. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't really want to answer, because I know now every time I answer, it's going to take me into a deeper level of courage, and I'm going to have to find more courage and more bravery. And at the same time, I know enough now. I'm liberated to trust that when I'm being called, it means there is something big for me. And there's something big for you. We just have to continue to cast the nets when it doesn't make sense. So what is the net? Maybe you cook beautiful food. Maybe you're a baker. Maybe you paint. Maybe you just sit and listen to people. We don't have to have some modality necessarily. We just be us. We've worked this hard to be our full express selves. So whether I'm doing this or I'm sitting around a campfire with you in a few months in some RV that's calling us forth that I don't even know how we're going to get to, but all of a sudden I roll up into your town and I'm like, meet me around the campfire. That is, I will be just like this, but I'll probably be in, jeans and a flannel, and I'll be laughing with you. I'll be bringing my light, feeding you, and you will be bringing and we will have this beautiful exchange because you cast your net by showing up, and we lock arms. This is how this the inverted work. I don't want to call it inverted because it's we've been done. This is how the true north of our being works. This is how our operating system works. The new, improved operating system, the inherent one. We are liberated, you all. Please just trust that. Please just trust that. And now we get to go and cast our nets and sow some seeds of true abundance that we will see grow throughout this next, and we are going to continue to nurture throughout this next year together. So I look forward to this. I don't know what this is going to look like, but we're going to find out a little bit more on Tuesday about what it truly means to start sowing these seeds. I'm so grateful for you being here. I'm so grateful. I can't even tell you. I'm so grateful to be in this place of peace, even though out there it's not, but I'm in a place of peace with you, and where I'm going to help to nurture that as much as I can. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for being brave enough to be a pioneer and to opening up to this, because I know some of the stuff is heady. Some of it's not natural yet. It's not natural for me yet, but it's becoming more and more natural. The more I say, behold, Gus, here I am, the more I'm realizing like, oh, this is kind of fun. I kind of like this. It's still a little bit uncomfortable, but I see where I'm going at this point. I have a little bit more of my pathway illuminated, and I'm like, oh, there's a full circle coming around here, and I see it now. I see why I had to wait so long. My mind wants to say, it's been so long to see this thing coming forth, but I see it now, and I see the higher purpose in it, and I see why I had to be in this consciousness to be able to cast my net in an RV. So my ministry is not, someone asked me the other day, like, are you going to like minister from a church? I'm like, oh God, no. Like, I don't want to be that. Like, I don't want to have to commit to being someplace every day, every Sunday. No. So now I'm pretty clear on that answer. My ministry is going to be out of an RV, and it's going to be around a campfire, and it's going to be having s'mores and having dogs and Pepe running around. And maybe you can bring your dogs too, or whatever. It's a ministry completely different. And it starts right here on this YouTube channel, but it's coming to community, towards a bigger and brighter community that I cannot wait to actually be in touchy-feely community with you, not in a weird way, but that I can give you a hug and thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Jessica said, yes, humans are innately nomadic. Our souls long to move. This soul here, holy Moses, like I have got to be moving. I've got to be moving. My net is my Reiki sessions I do for people. Yes, Jessica, casting that net. RV life. We've been full-time RV. I've thought about you for 4 years. We love it. If you have any questions, text me. I thank you, because I probably will. And mom says, this is what you wanted to do years ago, but all for the wrong reasons. Exactly. I can see it now, right? It's been illuminated why it was for the wrong reasons and why it didn't come into my world, why it didn't manifest, because it wasn't in resonance yet. Now it is for the right reason, and I, for one, look forward to seeing this come to fruition. Me too, because we'll be rolling up into Lewiston, barreling down Pappy Farm's driveway, and like, honk, honk, we're here. I can't wait. I have this vision. I've had it for a long time. So I'm gonna be rolling up in some jalopy. I don't know. It's not gonna be a jalopy. It's gonna be my own little jalopy. So I look forward to this next phase, y'all. I'm super stoked. And I just thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I love you all. I love this thing. Thank you, Gus, for letting me do this. It's a very special moment in time for me. So thanks for sharing it with me. Love you all. We got the hookup. Yes, you do. All right, y'all. Have a good one.